Hey guys, it's Grant with G-Fam. I just wanted to touch base with you guys and let you know about an amazing experience I had today about the voice of God and how sometimes we feel like we don't hear Him. But I'm here to assure you today that He does still speak to us. He is real, He is living, and we do have a Father that communicates. We just have to take the time to listen. So what I have here in front of me is going to sound odd, but bear with me. This is a random set of books that my children and I have randomly selected from our church about a week or so ago. Now, in the beginning, I thought these are just books and what's the significance of them other than let's just read them to my kids and we'll have a great time doing that. Now, to backpedal, the night before this, I asked God in my prayers at night, I said, could you please speak to me, Lord? We're embarking on this journey and we are... Actually, let me give you a little back history. My wife and I are in the process of selling our home, getting a travel trailer, and we're going to travel the country. We're also going to be spreading the good news while we're out there. And so, to bring you up to speed, what that means is last night I asked God to speak to me. Let me know what direction I need to be going in. Give me some reassurance or some discipline, whatever it is that He needs to say to me. So prior to reading these books this morning, I had spoke to God last night and asked Him to speak to me. Now mind you, like most of us out here, we send up our prayers and always wonder if they're ever answered. I'm here to insert a little bit of hope into this situation because I believe that God still speaks to us. Now, like I said, these are books that we have randomly picked from the library with no significance whatsoever. Upon reading all these books, I read them entirely in one sitting. I picked them in a random order, and as I was reading these books, I had the Joy FM on. And we'll get to that detail in a minute. This book I read first. It's a book about these animals. They're staying busy and they're building day by day until they eventually create something. And they create something pleasant for a whole lot of people. Okay, I'm going to briefly go through each one of these books and give you basically a rundown. This was the second book we read. This book is called Don't Blink. Right? This is a child who has a staring contest with the person reading the book. And it illustrates a turtle coming from one side or the other. Everyone throughout the whole book is challenging to not blink. It's the game Don't Blink. A blinking contest. Now mind you, all this might sound trivial at first. But still I kept reading, taking note of each thing and compiling it as I went along. Then I get to this book called Love Is. Now, as a believer, the first thing that came to my mind was Corinthians and about what love is actually identified as. Only to find out when I opened this book that that's exactly what it is. Love is patient, love is kind. So then I was very intrigued to finish the book with my children. At the bottom of the left hand of this book is all the opposites of what love is. The right side is what true narrative of what love is. I couldn't help but notice that in the left side of this book, there was a house that was diminishing as we go through the book. This house is diminishing and getting worse in condition. Something that I believe that God is telling me to leave behind, your house. Because if you stick around, this is what you might experience. Now mind you, these are my own thoughts and feelings. I don't know if this is 100% accurate. Then, when we pay attention to the right side of this book, I couldn't help but notice this. That there's illustrations of a man. On the left side of the book, there are illustrations of a man who traveled with a piece of stone and consulted with people and does not insist on its own way. So he's doing it God's way. And all the while he's chiseling out a piece of art that God intended him to chisel out. To the point where that art is now being admired and now is in a museum for the world to see. Which is where I hope that eventually the word of Christ will end up all around the world. And so I thought, wow, that's pretty cool, you know? Same thing. I'm not really starting to see the significance just yet, but nevertheless, we go to this one. Plant a tiny seed. Now, mind you, it's a child's book, and it illustrates a seed being planted, and throughout the book, these seeds grow, and you get the idea of it. They plant the seed, the plants grow, and they flourish. Which brings me to my last book. Not half as significant as these, but nevertheless, the book was for my son. It's The Sound of K. And I couldn't help but notice that there was a king on the front. And then I think this was about the moment where it all kind of sank in and realized that God was speaking to me through all of these children's books. And he put them in the order that he put them in for a reason. Because when I stopped and think about it, God wanted me to stay busy building something for him. All the while, he doesn't want me to blink. He wants me to stay focused on him, Christ. And while I'm building something and staying focused on Christ, I'm also inserting love, which is the seed that I choose to plant, Jesus' love. Who is the King of all kings. So once I got done reading all of these books, I told my children and my wife that God has just spoken to me. And in that exact moment, a song comes on the radio entitled Counting Every Blessings. And so ultimately, guys, that's the message here, is that I counted that blessing, that I asked for God to speak to me, and he told me exactly what it is that he's planning for me. The same plan that he inserted in us 2 years ago and has refined all the way down to getting in a trailer and traveling the country and spreading the good news in Jesus' love. So through these books, God has told me to stay busy building this for me, to not blink and stay focused on Christ while you're spreading the love and planting the seed to the King of Kings. God works in mysterious ways, but nevertheless, he's still working. It's amazing what you can do and what you can hear when you stop and think about what you're actually asking God to do for you. If you want him to speak to you, you gotta listen. And Jesus says, for those who have ears, let them listen.